What's up, everyone, and welcome to Friday's edition of Reptile News. Now, we're going to start off, surprisingly enough, with our dumbest story of the day out of Florida. A concerning and dumb story out of Florida. You see, 23-year-old Brandon Hatfield decided it would be a great idea to jump this fence and run around to see what was behind it. And hey, while he's at it, he decided to go for a swim. What he didn't realize was this was the St. Augustine alligator farm. He did jump in a pool full of crocodiles and he was injured. He shed some of his clothes and was later found in a woman's yard crawling across the lawn bloody, and he was arrested for burglary, criminal mischief, and violating probation. So this just goes to show that if you decide to go on some sort of drug binge tirade in the middle of the night, don't jump over a fence in Florida and go for a swim. And while we're talking about Florida, let's talk about the Florida python hunt. You see, in looking up some data for the python hunt, I realized there was a recent near record, I believe, only one of a few over the 17-foot range, but a 17.5-foot, over 100-pound python was caught in Florida. Now, something interesting about the story is not that the python was caught by a hunter or anything, but something that I noticed that a lot of people, including myself at the time, didn't really know. You see, I have been somewhat critical over the Florida alligator hunt since its inception, simply because you have an invasive species. You have an idea for people to hunt an invasive species. This is America. Hunting's big here. So obviously this is going to be a popular thing. However, you then charge for permits for people to hunt these animals. Now, I've always been critical over that there should be no permits. It's just, you know, as much as I love reptiles and everybody else here does, Burmese pythons do not belong in Florida, and I've always been very outspoken about find them and kill them, or get rid of them, do just whatever it takes. So charging people to do so is obviously going to kind of get in the way of the process. But something very interesting I read here is that Florida now is, or maybe for some time, I really don't know, is actually paying professional hunters to go out and hunt these animals, which is absolutely awesome news to me, because you got people out there that know what they're doing. They're so-called professional hunters, although I'm not sure what it takes to become a professional hunter. That's what they claim to have, and they're paying the people to go out to do this. So presumably a professional hunter is somebody who enjoys hunting and decided to do it for a profession, and Florida is helping them actually do that now. So pretty impressive snake caught down there, though, at 17.5 feet long. And they do say that this particular hunter that caught this snake is runner-up, other than one other person, obviously, to have caught the most snakes down there in Florida. His tally so far is 235 pythons to date. And now we're going to kind of stick with hunting, but we're going to kind of move over to Texas, to a story that I almost passed up, honestly, before I read it, and I thought it would be interesting just to talk about it for a second and show you guys and try to get some sort of idea on this. Apparently a Texas hunter was out wandering around the tree line when he saw a snake on a limb. He decided to mess with the snake, so he poked it with a stick, at which time the snake started crawling up the tree, and he got a picture of it. And it's I'm not 100% sure of the species that they have down there in Texas, but this is a pretty darn big snake, or at least it looks so in the video. So I decided to just share this story to maybe get your guys' take on this situation. Check out the link in the description. It'll take you to the website where you can go read the story, all the details, as well as watch the video, and let me know what kind of snake you think it is. And now we're going to move over to Kansas City, which gosh, I'm so on the fence about this particular kind of stuff. Apparently animal control authorities seized several large snakes, an alligator, a catfish of all things, from somebody's house after a dispute, which I'm kind of unclear about, but some sort of dispute about the property owner wanting the animals off the property, and blah blah yada yada. Fast forward and everything, where the officials are saying now that this man can absolutely go get his catfish and his snakes, but cannot get his alligator because they're not legal to keep alligators in Kansas City. So this man obviously says that they haven't heard the last of him, that he's going to fight to get his alligator back, and he describes it as a puppy dog, that it would call when it was, or I'm sorry, that it would come when it was called, and it was just a gentle kitty cat, he says. And one of the things that, I mean, I'm on the fence about it, because I personally believe that the government shouldn't be in the affairs of what we can and can't keep in our private residence. And also, you know, on the same note, they do say in this story that all the animals they seized from the residence were in excellent health, which is great. But then at the same time, the other part of me, I guess you can say, I can't think of the word of it off the top of my head, just hates stuff like this, because this is once again an animal that was illegal to keep, that somebody kept, who is saying to the press that I don't care what the law says, I'm going to get my alligator back. And I hate stuff like that, because when stuff like this makes news, it makes it hard for the rest of us that like to keep these animals, and it makes legislation that much more easier to pass. And I, for one, as I said before, am of the mindset that the government has no business in our affairs when it comes to topics like this. I also believe that the government is in our affairs, and because we failed in the past to regulate ourselves, they are going to regulate us. And because they are in our affairs, we have certain regulations and laws and ordinances that we have to follow to try to keep things on the up and up, to at least have a possibility to win this fight as well as many fights into the future. And by knowingly keeping animals that are illegal to keep in specific jurisdictions, we're just spitting in the face of the people that are fighting for us to one day again be able to keep those in said jurisdictions. So I don't like stuff like this. I'm happy that this isn't one of those cases where it was just a bunch of dead animals where they were actually in good health. I personally believe this man should be able to have this alligator, but I personally also believe that he needs to follow the law that is currently there, and if he wants his alligator, he should fight with the people of the community to turn around some of this legislation. And that, my friends, is going to be all your news for this Friday. If you'd like to read any more about these stories, those links are right down below here in the description. And as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other, and we'll see you Monday.